There was a window in the house my parents bought that summer in 2009. Well, okay, there were a lot of windows, but there was an unexpected window. A window that shouldn't have been there. It was in the basement. We didn't know what it was at first because it had been boarded up with rotting wood that was slowly falling away from the wall. It was a bit of a fixer-upper, that house. So Dad tore off the rest of the wood and that's where they found the window. It was oval-shaped with one smooth piece of glass inside. When you tried to peer through it, all you would see was a brick wall. It was very strange. Even Mom and Dad were perplexed. And that's back when they knew everything. Or at least I thought they did. So for them to have no answers was some kind of extraordinary. My brother Adam, my sister Margot, and I were fascinated by the little window. We liked to sit in the unfinished basement and stare at it, making up stories about why it was there and what was really behind it. Sometimes they were fantasy stories about fairies and magic faraway lands. Sometimes they were scary stories about ghosts and goblins. Most often, they were something in between. As the weeks wore on in the new house, Margot and I grew sort of bored of the little window. There were other things in the house to explore after all. But Adam, he was obsessed with it. He kept begging us to play with him in the basement, so we could make up games with the window. He was tiresome about it, as little brothers often are. So while Margot and I explored the attic and the big walk-in pantry and the creek in the woods beyond the house, Adam stayed in the basement. We thought it was weird, but our parents told us there was nothing to worry about. One day, maybe about a month after we had moved into the house, I went down into the basement to call Adam up for supper. I found him with his eyes closed, counting out loud. "What are you doing?" I asked him. "I'm playing hide and seek." "What? With who?" "With the girl in the window." I looked at the window but didn't see anything, just that brick wall behind it. "I don't see anyone." "That's because she's hiding, dummy. I'm it." Once he was done counting, he turned to go upstairs. "Hey, where are you going?" "It's supper time, isn't it?" "Well, yes, but you said you were playing a game." "This is the game. I'll have to come back and try to catch her in the window. If I just stand there and stare, she'll never come out. I have to surprise her." "You're being weird," I told him. He just shrugged and we went up to eat. But I had to take one last, hard look at the window. I still didn't see anything. I figured Adam must be messing with me. I caught Adam playing hide and seek with the window several times over the next few weeks. He told me that it was his favorite game to play. He tried to get Margot to play with him too, but she couldn't see anybody and got frustrated. She wanted to play actual hide and seek, and we did sometimes, but Adam didn't like to be away from the window very long. At this point, Mom and Dad seemed to start getting worried. Adam was spending an awful lot of time down in that basement, and it wasn't right for a child to be in the dark that long. They wanted him to go outside and play with us and the other neighborhood kids. Eventually, they took to shooing him out of the basement. He kicked up a bit of a fuss, but eventually, he would come outside and spend some time with us. Gradually, he seemed to get a little less attached to the window. Things went on that way until one night in late July. Everyone was asleep. Mom and Dad in their bedroom across the hall, Margot and I in the bedroom that we shared, and Adam in the room next to ours. Margot had gotten up in the night to get a glass of water from the kitchen. While she was drinking her water, she saw a man standing by the basement door. As she would later tell us, he was tall and lanky with thin, scraggly black hair. He was soaking wet, dripping water on the floor. He had bloated eyes that looked as though they were about to tip right out of their sockets, and they were pure white, like they had some sorts of film over them. His jaw was slack, showing a mouth full of rotting teeth. His skin was sort of bluish-gray and sagged around his frame. She screamed bloody murder until all of us were downstairs. At the time, all she could tell us was that she had seen a man by the basement door, and lo and behold, the basement door was open. Mom took us all upstairs to their bedroom while Dad called the police. They searched the house while Mom tried in vain to calm Margot down, but she just kept sobbing. I remember Adam was unusually quiet, his face completely drained of color. I thought he was just upset by Margot screaming. Well, the police didn't find anyone. No sign of forced entry, no evidence that anyone had been there. They sat down and spoke to Margot, tried to get a description of the man from her. She wasn't able to get it all out at the time, but she gave them enough details for them to determine that she must have been sleepwalking and had a nightmare. Margot insisted she hadn't, and was so distraught that she wouldn't sleep in our room anymore. She insisted on sleeping in the master bedroom with our parents. Mom and Dad, meanwhile, were just happy that there wasn't actually an intruder in the home. And after letting us stay up for a while to have some hot chocolate and watch some silly cartoons, they put us back to bed. I didn't sleep well that night. In the early hours of the morning, Adam came to my room, and I could tell from his tired eyes that he hadn't slept either. "I need to talk to you," he whispered. I sat up and patted my bed until he came over and sat down. "I know that man," he said. "The man Margot saw." I could feel my eyes bugging out of my head. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because he's from the window, like the girl. There's a whole group of them, you see, living there. The man and the woman and the girl and the baby and the boy, and well, there's just a lot of them is all." "You're telling me that they can come out of the window?" I asked. "I didn't think they could," he said, looking disturbed. "The girl told me that they were stuck in there. I think they're coming out to look for me because I stopped playing with them." I found myself shuddering even as I tried to dismiss his claims. "This isn't a game, Adam." Margot was really scared. "I'm not playing around," he said, his voice getting louder. "I mean it, they're real. I can see them." He was practically shouting them, and I shushed him. "Fine, then let's just ask Mom and Dad to board the window back up. They won't be able to get out then, right?" He looked slightly mollified. "Right. Good. And let's all promise to not go down into the basement anymore. Agreed?" Agreed. "Can I sleep in here for the rest of the night?" It was hardly night anymore, but I agreed. "Yeah, take Margot's bed." He sighed in relief as he clambered into her bed. He was fast asleep in minutes, but I stayed watching over him until the sun finished climbing into the sky. The next day, all three of us demanded Mom and Dad board up the window. I told Adam not to tell Mom and Dad about the people in the window because I knew they wouldn't believe us. Grown-ups never believe children about these kind of things. Instead, we just told them the window scared us and we didn't like it, and we wanted it boarded back up. They were a little baffled, but we convinced Margot to tell them that she was afraid of the window, which led them to decide that perhaps it was the reason behind her nightmare, and they boarded it up right away. They showed it off to us when they were done, and I'm sure I didn't imagine Adam's sigh of relief. We thought that would be the end of it. And for a few days it was. Margot didn't have any more nightmares, and Adam started to feel better, seemed more relaxed. He avoided the basement like the plague, but then again, we all did. It was late one night in mid-August that it happened. I woke up with a jolt, unsure at first what had awoken me, until I saw Margot and Adam standing next to my bed. Margot was in tears and Adam wasn't far behind. "There's someone in the basement," said Adam. "What are you talking about? How do you know? Did you go down there?" I asked. He shook his head. "I went to use the bathroom and I could hear something down there. Please, you have to come look." The joys of being a big sister, right? I should have woken up our parents, but I was only 10 years old. I was worried that if I woke them for nothing, they would be mad at us. So instead, I grabbed my little Pooh Bear flashlight and led the way down the stairs to the basement door. Adam was right. There was a sound, like a loud scratching noise that was somehow carrying up the basement stairs and through the door. "Do you think it's them?" Adam whispered. I felt Margot's hand twist in my nightgown as she hid behind my back. "No, it can't be. Mom and Dad boarded the window up. Maybe an animal got inside. A raccoon." "I'm scared," whispered Margot. "You two wait up here. I'm going down to have a look." "No!" Margot shrieked as Adam and I both frantically shushed her. "I don't want you to go alone. I don't want to wait here. Please, don't leave us here." I remember feeling exasperated and on edge when I asked her, "Wouldn't you feel better up here?" She shook her head and pressed herself even closer to me. I sighed. "Fine, let's go downstairs. Everything will be okay, I promise. I'll protect you." That's how I found myself flicking on the basement light and creeping slowly downstairs, my little siblings in tow. Nothing looked amiss at first, but the scratching was definitely louder, and it only took a moment to discover that it was definitely coming from the window. I crept closer to take a look. The boards in front of the window were shaking, just a little trembling, like something was pushing against them from the other side. The next part happened very fast. First, a partially loud scratch and a violent shake of the board finally made it clear that something on the other side was trying to scratch through the wooden boards. And second, as I saw wooden dust falling from the barrier, I realized that whatever it was about to break through. Third, I called out to Adam and Margot, "Go upstairs and get Mom and Dad." I had just barely gotten out the last word when one of the boards splintered and fell away from the window. I only had a moment to register the pale, bluish-gray hand with bloodied fingertips reaching out of the glass. Only the glass seemed to have become liquid, like the surface of a calm lake. I didn't feel calm when the hand wrapped around my right wrist and yanked me toward the window. I screamed as my entire right arm was plunged through the glass. I barely registered Margot and Adam shrieking for our parents as my arm was seized by an icy, stabbing pain. It felt like icicles were forming on my bones, tearing apart my flesh from the inside. The cold traveled up my arm and through my chest, shocking me into losing my breath and my voice. The thing gripping me yanked and yanked, but I was stuck on the other side of the board still covering the window. I could feel the wood creaking and groaning as the thing pulled harder and harder. I felt rather than heard a strange popping noise, and suddenly, the agony in my arm became 10 times worse. I got my voice back and screamed and screamed and screamed. I didn't stop when I felt my dad grab around my waist and pull me back from the window. I didn't stop when he finally managed to get that thing to let me go, and we both fell back hard on the cement floor. I didn't stop screaming the entire time they drove me to the hospital. I didn't stop until they sedated me. I was a mess. My wrist was broken and circled with deep bruises. My arm had been pulled out of the socket. There were lacerations all up and down my arm, some of them deep enough to need stitches. The police were called, obviously. My parents were distraught. I don't even remember what they told them. Did they actually tell them about the window? Or did they just tell them it was an intruder that tried to kidnap me? Whatever it was, there ended up being some kind of investigation. Social services was involved and I had to talk to a lot of different people. I told them the same thing over and over again. The thing in the window tried to kill me. That's what it wanted, and it almost got it. We moved out of the house soon after that, but not before my dad put iron bars over the window. It's been over a decade since then, and to this day, my parents have never discussed what happened with us. Adam remembers, but he doesn't talk about it. There was only once when I was back from college for my first winter break that he had brought it up. We were sitting in the living room and chatting late into the night, and he got quiet before he finally asked me, "Do you remember the window?" I swallowed hard and looked into my hot chocolate, unwilling to meet his eyes. "Yeah," I said. There were a few long minutes of silence before he said, "Thank you for saving me, for protecting us like you promised." We left it at that. I don't think Margot really remembers. She was so young and she's never mentioned it before. She does have nightmares sometimes though, about a creepy man standing by a door about me screaming. None of us have ever told her where those nightmares could be coming from. And as for me, I'm doing okay. My arm healed almost completely. There's just a few scars from the cuts I left behind. I had nightmares for years, of course, and sometimes I still get them. But I'm mostly okay. There's just one thing. Since that night, I've been able to sense things I couldn't before. Sometimes I'll feel that cold, sharp stabbing pain in my arm. And when I look around, I'll see someone who isn't there, at least not physically anymore, with sagging, bluish-gray skin and bloated eyes and rotting teeth. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I won't see nothingness. I'll see this forlorn space full of wailing and shrieking figures, stumbling in the dark and begging for help, for someone to hear them. I'm terrified of the day they realize that there's someone living who can see into the realm of the dead.